The day is the 17th of October 1346. The English and the Scottish armies form up for the final decisive battle in the Scottish invasion of 1346. The battle that would determine the future of northern English security was about to begin. By 1346, England found itself fighting on two fronts, against the Scots in the Second War of Scottish Independence, which had begun in 1332, and against the French in the rapidly escalating Hundred Years' War. A temporary pause had been arranged 3 years earlier. The Truce of Malestroit, agreed in January 1343, was supposed to halt fighting among England, France and Scotland until late September 1346. In practice, however, the truce did little to calm the conflict. Skirmishes continued across the borders, and in October 1345, King David II of Scotland even launched a 6-day raid deep into northern England. During the same time that the Scottish raids were happening in northern England, King Edward III of England was preparing his army for a major invasion of France. The French king, Philip VI, desperate to relieve pressure on his own frontier, urged David II of Scotland to strike again in the north. The long-standing alliance between France and Scotland, renewed in 1326 and designed to force England into fighting a two-front war, now became crucial. In July, Edward III landed in Normandy at the head of a 15,000-strong army. Alarmed, Philip VI renewed his urgent appeals to David II for support. With English forces also tied down in Gascony, Brittany and Flanders, Philip painted a tempting picture of northern England as a defenseless void. David II was convinced. He followed the advice of the French king and marched into northern England, believing that the English had left their northern towns exposed. When Scottish forces tested the border, they were met with unexpectedly stiff resistance from local defenders. Undeterred, David agreed to a truce lasting until the 29th of September, buying time to complete the mobilization of a Scottish army gathering at Perth. By the time the truce expired, the situation had dramatically shifted. The French had been battered by the English. They had suffered a crushing defeat at Crécy, and English forces were currently laying siege to Calais. Matters were no better in southwest France, where the French front had collapsed altogether, culminating in the fall of Poitiers at the hands of the English. While the English were diverted in France, on the 7th of October the Scots invaded England with approximately 12,000 men. Many had modern weapons and armor supplied by France. A small number of French knights marched alongside the Scots. The army marched south and began their war on northern England. The border fort of Little Peel was stormed and captured after a siege of 3 days, and the garrison massacred. Carlisle was bypassed in exchange for a large indemnity, and the Scottish army moved east, ravaging the countryside as they went. They sacked Hexham Abbey, taking another 3 days to do so, then advanced to Durham. The Scots arrived outside Durham on the 16th of October and camped at Beaurepaire Priory, where monks offered the Scots a large amount of money for their safety. The invasion had been expected by the English for some time. An army was quickly mobilized at Richmond in North Yorkshire under the supervision of William de la Zouche, the Archbishop of York, who was Lord Warden of the Marches. It was not a large army, 3,000 to 4,000 men from the northern English counties of Cumberland, Northumberland, and Lancashire. Another 3,000 Yorkshiremen joined the English forces, and together the combined force of around 7,000 men, now commanded by Lord Ralph Neville, marched towards the Scots who were camped outside Durham. At Beaurepaire, the Scots did not become aware of the English army until the morning of the 17th of October, when it lay scarcely 6 miles away. In the early hours, as mist clung to the countryside, a raiding party of about 500 men, led by William Douglas, blundered into the English host near Merrington, south of Durham. The 2 rear divisions of the English army counter-attacked swiftly. The clash was brief but brutal, driving the Scots off and leaving around 300 of them dead or wounded. Douglas escaped and galloped back to David II's camp with the alarming news, prompting the Scottish army to spring to arms. David II led the Scottish army east from Beaurepaire and took up a position on high ground less than half a mile west of Durham. As the morning mist lifted, however, the weaknesses of the Scottish position became apparent. The army stood on broken, uneven terrain that disrupted their close formations, and they had very few archers, leaving them dangerously exposed to the English longbowmen. The Scottish army was organised into 3 main divisions, each built around dense ranks of spearmen in the traditional schiltron formation. This formation was designed to resist cavalry charges and hold firm under attack. The right division was commanded by John Randolph, Earl of Moray. The left was jointly led by Robert Stewart and the Earl of March. At the centre stood King David II himself. His division held slightly back as a reserve, intended to deliver a decisive blow at the critical moment. The English army deliberately positioned itself to counter the Scottish schiltrons. Their entire force fought on foot, apart from 1 small cavalry division held in reserve. The English left was commanded by Lord Henry Percy, while the right was led by Archbishop William Zouche of York, who commanded a large contingent of longbowmen. Overall command, as well as the centre of the line, belonged to Lord Ralph Neville. Confident in their superior position and aware that time favoured them, the English adopted a defensive stance. This led to a stalemate that lasted until the afternoon, when English longbowmen were sent forward to harass the Scottish lines. The English longbowmen, who had superior range to then Scottish bowmen, opened fire on the main bulk of the Scottish army. The Earl of Menteith attempted to drive off the English archers with a cavalry charge, but the attack failed. By this point, the archers had succeeded in provoking the Scots into advancing. As the Scottish lines moved forward, the English longbowmen continued to pour in arrows. Under heavy fire from the English longbowmen, the Scottish left, commanded by the Earl of March and Robert Stewart, collapsed and fled the field, with most of the men managing to escape. After more fierce fighting, the Scottish centre finally started to waver. The English saw the cohesion breaking down and committed their reserve cavalry force. The cavalry charge, along with the constant bombardment from the English longbows, caused the Scottish army to break. David II, badly wounded, was captured after he fled the field, while the rest of the Scottish army was pursued by the English long into the night. More than 50 Scottish barons were killed or captured, and the battle resulted in Scotland losing almost all its military leadership. It is estimated that around 3,000 Scots were killed, while the English casualties were no more than a few hundred. The English victory at Neville's Cross had major political and military consequences. David II was held captive in England for 11 years, severely weakening Scottish leadership and internal stability. Scotland was forced onto the defensive, and English influence over Scottish politics increased during the king's imprisonment.